Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today we're going to be talking about the changes that are coming with Horns of the Reach, of course. 3.1 patch. I call it the 3.1 patch because I don't like to put that other point whatever. But the 3.1 patch, and there's a lot of changes. I know a lot of people are worried about, like the changes to to sharpened, to you know, that it's in itself is making a lot of people worried that DPS is going to drop off. It doesn't. If you use the champion point system, you can really kind of just go right back to the way you were. You can grab that one Mundus stone, the Lover Mundus stone, make up the difference, because you don't lose that much in crit, to be honest. I dropped to 57 on the bow and 59 by dropping the Thief Mundus stone, which doesn't really... It does, but it doesn't really. No, you don't notice it too much. I still crit most of the time, so that's a good thing. My stats are kind of low. I should probably eat some food. But yeah, I do want to get into talking about this character, but before I do, I want to go over some of the changes in the patch notes, just so you guys have more of an idea. So let's go ahead and tab out. We're going to go back up. I was going through the patch notes earlier, just so I could get a, you know, what I'm talking about could be a little bit more clear. But I want to start right here with the combat balance changes, especially this here, because this is something that a lot of people looked at, but a lot of people didn't take into account of how much it is going to affect the game. So they adjusted elemental status effects. They now scale off max magicka, max stamina, and spell and weapon damage. That right there is really good that they did that. The other thing that they did is burning now lasts for 4 seconds, poison now lasts for 6 seconds, concussion and chilled, their secondary effects, the minor vulnerability and minor maim, now lasts for 4 seconds. But the when you apply the concussion, it applies a shock damage to them, and when you apply chilled, it applies a frost damage to them. So each of these things have had their stuff adjusted to scale off of that stuff. They do a dot damage now, and it really does play into the game really well, especially if you're running a charged staff, or you're running a charged bow, or you're running a charged weapon of some kind that you're using to apply the effects. There is a lot of new, this new change allows for charge to come forward as well as just as much as the other ones. So I want to go down here to the Mundus stones and just briefly cover these real quick, just so you guys know. The Lover and the Lady, two perfect stones. I mean, these are perfectly balanced now, like perfectly balanced. Everything else couldn't be any better. The drop-in Thief really does bring it down to where it's not one that everyone has to run, but it's still a viable option, and it opens up these other Mundus stones to be viable options now. I'm running the Warrior Mundus stone on my Nightblade right now. While I was testing one of them, one of my mini tests, I did do the tower, I did do the Lord with it, and I took the health glyph I have on my armor off, and I put the Lord on instead, just to see, you know, like, I made a lot of different combinational changes to a lot of my characters, and honestly, like, you don't notice that much of a difference, especially if you go for like the weapon or spell damage. You won't notice a lot of difference in your damage drop off, because you're making up that difference. And that's what I like about this, is how well they did balance this. Now, it's not 100% perfect, don't get me wrong. It is not 100% perfect, but it's better than what it was. Going on down here, though, to the changes to the traits now, this is where everything gets a little easier to understand. Because they adjusted defending, they adjusted sharpened, then they adjusted the precise, powered, Nernhoned, infused, and decisive, but they didn't adjust charged. Now, if you guys don't know what charged is, charged basically increases a chance to apply status effects. So they didn't adjust it because it was already really good. It probably might need an adjustment now, like brought down to 200% on two-handed, 100% on one-handed, because like, even on a one-handed charged weapon, it's almost guaranteed you're going to apply the effect. So that's a thing. The Nernhoned is pretty good. I only got to make one sword, so it kind of, you know, it kind of sucks, but it doesn't, and I had to make it in a certain set, so I made it in a set that I use a lot, which is Night Mother's Grace. It's on my tank right now because it works really good for her on my DK tank, and I've been testing it on her mostly. I did test it on this character on my Nightblade. But either way I go, it works. So it's just like, it's all about balance and compensation. Like, if you're going to use this, you need to use this. If you're going to use this, you want to use this. You want to make these adjustments for certain things, so you want certain aspects to work in certain ways. It's kind of different, but like, once you get an understanding of, like, if you have an understanding of the game already and its mechanics and its workings on builds and how to like create a build and put a good build together, you can easily go in and just look and go, okay, I see what I'm doing, you know, I see the gear, okay, it has this much weapon damage, the jewelry has this much, this has this much. All right, I'm going to go with Nerdhone because it's going to give me a little bit more, because I can make up the difference with other things elsewhere. Like, if I need extra crit, I can go with another gear set that's going to give me more crit, or I can go with this, or I can go with this. So there's a lot more variety in build options this update than there has ever been, except for back when Dark Brotherhood happened. Right before Dark Brotherhood, there was a lot of good build customization then. And then after Dark Brotherhood, Sharpen became like the main thing for all DPS. It's still a good thing to use, but it's not a definitive thing to use unless you're making what's called a crit pin build. If you're making a crit, like a light crit pin build, a moderate crit pin build, I don't know, 50% crit, high pin. If you're going for that, it's a lot easier to get that high pin in there, a lot easier now, because you can just do so many different, there's so many different ways to get it. This change down here with the sets, the only ones that are noticeable really are these two. Everything like this, you won't even, 100-point change, you won't even notice. You won't even notice. But the crit change and the pen train resistance change, you will know. This one you'll feel if you run Spriggans or Spinners. That's it. So it's not like these are detrimental changes. These are changes that were needed, because Spriggans and Spinners were highly sought after in farm sets because of what they did, but not a lot of people ran them. I know a lot of people in the game, and most of the people I talk to, only one person out of like 300 that I've talked to runs it. 1 in 300. So it's like that, and that's just what I know. So you know, there could be a lot more, but I'm just saying 1 in 300. If it's 1 in 300 that I know, and it's a 1 in 5,000 that somebody else knows, that's a huge, like, that says something. Going on down here, the monster set changes, all of these are super good. This really does balance out a lot of the monster sets against each other and offers a lot more variety. So I've seen a lot of people complain about Poison Serpent. Really, you don't even, like, because of the amount of the crit chance and the adjustment to the damage, you get the damage more often, the proc to happen more often. So it's like almost every time you proc, I mean, boom, 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 you're getting at 3,400 poison damage. And it has a chance, especially if you're using a charged weapon, to proc poison effect. And I'll get to that in a second. So a lot of these are really good changes. I love this one. I love the Night Flame one. I can't get over that one. I'm playing around on my Nightblade, my Magic Nightblade. She uses that. Wow. So let's go ahead and talk about charged real quick. So I know a lot of people think that charged is a bad option. It's a bad choice because it doesn't give you extra damage. It doesn't boost your damage. Now it will, because of one factor. The other things have been adjusted, so they've been brought down in damage, and other things have been adjusted up to increase their damage effectiveness. This was one of them. They didn't even need to change it. They was already that good. So I'm going to show you guys a light attack or a heavy attack with this. You see that skull there? That is the poison effect, and as you can see, it ticks for a decent amount of damage, and this takes up this compensates for what you lose in sharpened and what you lose in the other things. It's a compensation. So you're giving up the sharpen to get some extra effect. Now this works with staves, it works with one-handed weapons, it works with whatever you're trying to do if you need that extra effect. If you're playing in a group and let's say you don't have somebody running a lightning staff, which I know is, people say, well, that's hardly impossible. But if you do, somebody else is running a weapon that has shock on it and they're running it charged, they have a greater chance of applying that charged effect, which is gonna help your group a lot, especially if it's a Stam Sork, just letting you know. So they can do that, and Stam Sorks can even do it with this. They can even get it to apply that, you know, that charged effect, because it has a chance, as you can see, of applying the effect. So I applied the poison effect from the bow with that, and it will continues to. Now if I switch to my main bar, it will apply the proc from my Night Mother's Embrace, and it'll get, it's like it stays on all the time, so that extra armor pin. Now I'm going to show you guys this real quick. Poison injection, bam, 2 dots in 1 hit. And that's why the charge, like I said, is a really good one. It's not great, but it's good. It's on par with the other items now, because it does apply that extra effect, and it does do that ticking damage. Now I haven't tested, like done a lot of testing with shock or fire, or not shock and fire, shock and chilled to a greater extent. I need to. Especially on my ice tank, because I'm running. I did try a charged staff, and chilled was just like I couldn't stop applying it. It was continuous. But that's because wardens have a 200% chance to apply chilled, along with the staff that gives them 100 without. So they can pretty much just apply chilled whenever. They don't need a charged staff. But I tried charged on them, and it was just like it didn't matter what I did. As long as I was on that charged staff bar, it was just applied. So, and it was continuously applied. It was really crazy. Tried it on my Nightblade with a fire staff. Wow. Like burning applied constantly. Like no matter. Well, I dropped my wall of flame. Every enemy that got hit had wall of fire on them. It was that. It's that good. And that's why it's really important to look. Like, don't just look at your character this update. Like, a lot of people are going to look at their characters and be like, oh man, I don't know what to do, I guess I have to remake my build. Don't worry about having to remake your build. Just make adjustments to your build. And you know, you can make simple adjustments like I've done with my champion points, and I still have my sharpened stuff here, as you can see, my sharpened bow, sharpened dagger, sharpened dagger. This is what I normally run. Right now I'm running an infused sword with a decisive dagger and a bow. I don't need the decisive dagger, honestly. I get enough ultimate build from this to fire off my ultimate, and I can keep that ultimate up pretty much almost, what is it? It's like 60%, 70%, 60 or 70% of the time. I forget. I'll have to get the add-on loaded again and see, but it's like 60 or 70% of the time I can keep it up, and it's like continuously up. It's not, oh, it's up now, it's up now. It's like, it's always up. So my because I generate so much ultimate so fast, it's not even funny. With this and the decisive weapon, it's even faster. So I can keep my ultimate up. Like, every time that thing procs, I've got 14 ultimate, and I'm generating an extra ultimate anytime I generate ultimate, pretty much. So it works out really good with that. Now this is only 20% chance on one-handed, but it's still super good. Like, it is phenomenally good. Like, how fast you generate ultimate is crazy. And then of course, like I said, I was running an infused weapon with disease damage, because Nightblades do a lot of disease damage anyway, so I figured I'd just go with the theme and just put disease damage on it. I could go with fire, I could go with shock, I could go with poison. It doesn't matter. What I put on there, it's gonna do a ton of damage, like a ton of damage, because this thing can get, I've got it to proc for as high as 12k, just the glyph itself. And so it adds a lot more damage to it, and that's why infused is standing on top right now for a lot of DPS. Like, infused, precise on the front bar, just to get that extra crit kind of thing. Like, if I was running a precise dagger, it would be a lot better, because I could get a lot more DPS out of my character and crit wise, but I wouldn't be, I would lose that decisive, that ultimate gen. And that's what this kind of build this build here is built around. It's built around building up to fire this off as much as you can and keep this applied as much as you can. Not just for the major defile, but just for the fact that it does so much damage, and it gives you that increase in damage, you know, for 6 seconds, the 20% damage increase for 6 seconds. The more you have that, the more damage you do, and it's just, if you can keep it consecutively locked in, your character just does a ton of damage over time. And then of course I have my poop button back here if I need it, my bolstering darkness. So, but yeah, it's been an interesting test, I will say that. Like, testing on my tanks, testing on my healers, testing on my DPS, testing on, you know, just testing across the board. You know, I can't believe, like, how well, like, when I said balanced, I can't believe how well balanced things are against each other now. Like, they are really well balanced. The gear sets are really well balanced against each other. I know some people will still always favor the greater DPS sets for DPS. Like, you know, Julianus is going to become I will say this, Julianus and Hunting's Rage are going to become some really popular sets this update. A lot of people are shooting for Twiceborn Star to become a popular one. Twiceborn Star is always just going to have its niche. It's going to have its niche area in the game, and it's going to have its niche with its people that like to use it. It's going to be still just as good as it always has, and it's going to be a little bit better now, especially if you have the right like combination. If you're running Vipers in Twiceborn, yeah, you've got a really killer setup now, because you can run weapon damage on it, or you can run with Shadow, or you can run you know, the Thief Stone in that, and then make sure you just stack tons of weapon damage somewhere else. But if you do it right, you can get a lot out of that set really easy. But I would still say that that Twiceborn Star, Pelinals, any of those sets that give you those tri-stats are more or less made for hybrids. It's, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, it's more or less a hybrid set, but it still works really good either way you go. And like Shacklebreaker, really good set. You know, you can look at the sets though now and look at the changes that they've made and really see like what they're trying to do with the game when it comes to just gear sets. Like gear sets, they wanted to bring them up so that there's more viable options and build choices. And I can see why, because a lot of gear sets just don't get used. So they want to make more gear sets viable. So bringing them up and bringing them, you know, like making adjustments to them and everything allows for greater build variety. And I think that's something that the devs really want more of, is greater build variety. You know, the meta's nice. It is nice, don't get me wrong. The meta builds are really good, but at the same time, it needs to be broader. We need a broader brush in the meta. And I think that's what a lot of us are really hoping for. I know Gilliam's talked about it. Like he says it all the time. Like we need more. You know, there needs to be more variety. And I think he said it in his Fire of Irish Stream thing that he was doing. He was talking about that. Like that this update really does allow for more broader reach of builds. ESO Daily said it. I know he's kind of like me. We're almost on par, like with our. Well, he has a little bit better quality videos, I'm not going to lie, but we're both pretty much on par with what we talk about. And he might know a little bit more with some things than I do, but we're both pretty close on it. Outcast and his explanation on a lot of things, like he's done a lot of tests, and I respect his work, but I wouldn't focus on just singular builds, man. I mean, we got so much more variety now. It's not even funny. It's insane. But I do like watching his stuff because he is so, you know, he does know his stuff really well. Kind of excited though with this update to see what players, the rest of the community does. Like I really want to see. Like I know there's a lot of people testing right now on the test server. I've seen them, you know, out in the world running around. I heard him talking, you know, you can see it in his own chat and stuff. And a lot of people are talking about the changes, and a lot of people are really working towards wanting to make more different changes with this. I know Outcast is waiting for next week when his characters get on the test server to do more testing, and I can't wait to see his results, so it's going to be pretty interesting. But yeah, it's if you're afraid about the update, don't be. It's a good change. It's something the game really needed. We needed this kind of balance where it brings more things forward. I mean, to give you guys a greater explanation, if you were to take the build system we have now, it's like a pyramid. You have all the build, like gear sets and like gear set builds and everything on the bottom that are just and then you have like in the middle you have the yay, they're a little bit better, and then you have near the top you have like, oh cool, these are getting better, and then at the very top you have like one or two options. And that's what we have now. With this update, I see it myself, seeing it being more like a circle. You have some okay ones, like there's ones on the bottom that are still like and then you get to the middle of it and it just reaches all over the place, and you have a lot more greater build variety. And then as you get to the top, you notice you have just a bunch of builds that are going to be across the top of the board that are going to be really good, because that's what this does, is it opens up that variety even more than what we had in the past when it came to not only the meta, but just also build choices and build options. Now we have a greater option. Like, I'm looking at gear sets that I would have never looked at before for builds, honestly. Like, when I made my Meridia's Guardian build, I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. Now, you know, like, it's not going to work that well. Now I'm looking back at it going, that's going to be a great build this update. Like, that's going to be a really good build this update. And then I'm looking at other builds going, yeah. Or looking at other gear sets going, okay, I want to use this with this, I want to use this and this, this and this and this and this. And I'm even looking at even making tank builds that don't use heavy armor, that actually use light and medium armor, because now with the increase of the resistance trait, or the resistance set bonuses, the you know, like, just doing that with some sturdy, some reinforced, you know, like a combination, because you don't need a ton of sturdy, like every piece sturdy, but if you have like two pieces sturdy, 2 pieces reinforced, 3 infused, or you know, whatever combination you want to come up with, you could do that. You could go 4 sturdy, 2 infused, 2 reinforced, and get away with it still, because you would get a little bit more out of it. But I would probably go with two of the infused, and like the legs and the chest, and then the head and shield make reinforced or something, or sturdy, along with like the belt and the gloves, and then go the boots and the shoulders reinforced, so you get a little bit more resistances out of them, kind of thing. But it's just that variety of options that, you know, a lot of people don't look at, that are really starting to pop out now, and really bringing, like, like you said, other gear sets forward and everything. Like, even looking at like DPS, for example. I tried it, and I have to say that if you haven't tried this yet and you haven't tested this yet, try a heavy armor DPS build. Not on live, do it on test server. And especially now, because a heavy armor DPS build, holy cow. That thing is like, it's like a beast. Especially if you're playing as Sork. And you're going for a heavy armor PvE DPS build. Not PvP, PvE. And try it out and see how it works. Because I have to say, like, I've done it in the past, and so I already know, like, how well it can be. But now with this new update, with the increase of crit chance, the increase of all that stuff, you do have to run the Thief Mundus Stone. That's the only part about it that I don't really care for, but you kind of have to run the Thief Mundus Stone to get that extra crit chance in there. But even with that, wow. Like, we're talking wow. Because you get extra weapon damage from being hit, you get all this other stuff, you know, you get the 10% more health. You get so much out of it that you literally become like a walking destructoid machine. I mean, it's pretty powerful, especially Stam Sork, really powerful. If you're playing DK, they can be a Stam DK, using a lot of poison damage and stuff. Really powerful in the heavy armor section. Also, I tried it out with a Magicka build. Yeah, I'm still kind of twitchy about that one. I'm not even like, that's pretty OP. It's not. Now, I want to be honest. It's not like playing a Stam Sork. You know, it's not like playing like in medium armor. It's not like playing a light armor, you know, DPS. It's the fact of like the survivability that you get from it is just. It's like, whoa. You want to make a battle mage? Do it now. Now is the time to really make a battle mage. You want to make just a brutal barbarian heavy armor warrior guy, go for it. You've got that option now. I tried it with Berserker and Vipers. What? Yeah, that was just this I didn't even need a monster set. It was a little too OP. I did those two together, and I did the Viper weapon, two-handed weapon, to a bow, and then I did one Viper piece, and then I grabbed a one monster thing that was light and put it on just to, so I had it, and then everything else was kind of like, you know, the Berserker set, and I just took it out and I tested it. I tested it against dummies. I took it out in the world. Like on the dummy, I was doing. Let's see. I gotta remember this because I've got so many. I didn't even write down the number. I should have written down all my numbers, like my my results, but I didn't. But I think it was like I was doing like 27 to 30k, like in somewhere, you know, like in that range. I could, if I kept the rotation really good, I could do 27k to 30k, and it was like, whoa, like I can't believe this. And then I took it out in the world, was messing around. I was taking on world boss, like soloing world bosses like it was nothing. I had like 22k health on the build. It was on an orc, so it was really pretty interesting because they get extra damage, weapon damage, and so playing that with a stam DPS, and then when I did the magic damage one, I did it on a dark elf and on my DK, and I went flame and everything, and well, with a flame DK, not my DK, but another DK I created, and I went out there and I did kind of the same thing. I took Julianus from one of my Nightblades and sent it over, and then I went and got another gear set, and I kind of put it together, and then took him out in the world and just kind of ran around, and it's just disgusting. Like literally, it's disgusting. Like how much you can get out of this new stuff. Like you can get so much more out of the builds now. It's that good. Especially if you're running precise on heavy, and you have like sharpened, not sharpened weapons, but you have like the Mundus stone. If you want to do that, you can go precise weapon, go with the Mundus stone, give you some precision, or that, and then you can go for some other stuff. But there's so many different options. Like there's so many different options that have been in the game for a long time, but they weren't viable. Now they're even more viable because of these changes. It just opens the door. And I'm not kidding you, it does open the door to a lot more build variety and a lot more stuff. Like I've always been an advocate that we can play in any armor. You know, we can play how we want. I'm an advocate of that. But now you can really play how you want. Really play how you want. You want to make a DPS in heavy armor, you know, running dual axes, and you want to be like the Nord barbarian guy from the trailer. You want to be like the wood elf from the trailer that's running around. She's casting magic. You know, she's a sword. If you want to do that, go for it. You can pull it off now because of how well balanced things are balanced. And here's the other exciting thing. I don't know like how many people have tested too much into this, but if you're wondering if hybrids are a thing, they've always been a thing. And now they're really close to being on par. I'll put it that way. In fact, they're super close to being on par. A lot closer than they were in the past, but now it's even more because of the changes to Nirnhoned, the changes to Sharpened. The fact that we can get a little bit more out of our characters in different areas with different things than just Sharpened allows for hybrids to kind of come forward a little bit, just a little bit, not like a huge margin. I mean, they still have the lack of attributes. So if you're going for a Magicka Stamina hybrid, you still have that lack of attributes, but you can make up the difference. You can make up the difference, guys, through weapon and spell damage. Twiceborn Star comes to mind, mixed with, you know, say, even like Sithis set or something. Sithis I wouldn't suggest, honestly, but something like that, you know, where a way to get some extra spell crit and weapon crit and then a proc set of some kind. Yeah, you can, like a monster set or a proc set, either one. If you can pull that off and you can get the right build going on, you can get a lot out of your character, like a ton out of your character. And you can even do it running dual wield on both bars if you want to. Or you can run dual wield on one bar, staff on the other. But there's a lot more variety now with ways that you can pull off being a hybrid. I mean, there is. It's you're not going to be the, like, nobody's going to go, oh, hey, let's take the hybrid over here into the trial. That's not going to happen. But you still have that ability to where, like, the rest of the content of the game, dungeons, normal trials, you know, like normal gameplay, like story quest. Like if you want to make a hybrid for story play, you can do it. There's nothing there's nothing in the game that difficult. Trials, on the other hand, can be something that could hurt you, but if you have a good amount of resource recovery, you're fine. That's where that really plays well, is like sets like Shacklebreaker, Pelinals, Twiceborn Star. Those ones really shine in those areas because they give you little bit of stuff, and then, you know, like Pelinals and Shackle Breaker really shine because they give you the recovery rates, and then the other ones, you know, like Twiceborn Star gives you the ability to equip 2 Mundus stones. That they can make up the difference for lack of spell or weapon damage. But there's a lot of different ways that you can play the game right now, and a lot more variety. And we'll just leave it at that. And that's where we're going to leave this video off. I'm having a hard time going back to live right now, guys, honestly, because I'm enjoying myself so much on test with all these changes, like just the conceptual idea of like different builds, just to give you guys an idea. Concept wise, I've probably created in the past few days 30-40 different concept ideas for builds in just the past few days, and that's after doing these tests, because that's how much the door is open. Like before, it was open a crack. Since the Dark Brotherhood, it's been open a crack. Excuse me. But now it's like somebody just threw the door open, said, "Here you go, have fun." And I have to say this, and I know it's going to sound like I'm praising them, but I want to thank the devs for this change, like going in and making this balance change. I want to see more of it. I want to see the game kept to this balance and this degree. It will make the game so much better for the community if they leave it like it is and they don't make any more adjustments to traits or Mundus stones or champion points. They can do adjustments elsewhere, but not to that. Not to that stuff. It's fine. That stuff's balanced now. Just leave it alone. Now you need to make skill adjustments, and you need to bring more gear sets to the game that offers greater variety for build types, so we can make more light armor tanks, medium armor tanks, and we can play those things and be viable. If you can do that, I will be the happiest man in the world. I swear to you, I will be, because I'm already excited. I'm already ecstatic about this change. Like that's how much I like it. I do love this change. And at first I was kind of like, this sucks, but it's great. It's great. And we're going to leave it at that. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, hit that subscribe button. It'd be greatly appreciated on both ones. Other than that, all I have to say is I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later. Bye.